Hello, in this video I am going to go through how to create a new contract or job on the Construction Manager software. First of all, the screen that appears in front of you is what you will see when you first log on to the software. So to create a contract, I'm going to click on contracts icon, which will bring up the screen here. As you can see, this has a list of all of the contracts that have currently been input onto the system. The first time that you're using this system, obviously this list will be blank. So to add a new contract, what I'm going to do is click on New. The screen, as you can see, will appear. The job number, customer reference and start date are the three required fields you need to fill in on this page. So for example, if I use job number and type in 999, this field can have a automated job numbering sequence set up against it. This will be covered in another video which will go through some of the basic settings that can be set. If I go to the customer reference here and I select one of the customers from off of here and then click on OK. I can also use these two white boxes on the top to filter it down. So for example, if I typed in the word Cameron, as you can see it's filtered out the rest of the ones, so I can just find it from the list. If you have a large list of customers, it can save a little bit of time rather than having to scroll through to find the customer that you are looking to assign this job to. Start date will default to today's date. We can obviously predate that or choose a date in the future if the job is not going to be started for a number of weeks or months. Classification is a customizable field for you to use if you want to be able to report on different areas of the business or different areas of work that you're carrying out to see possibly if one area is more profitable than another to you. They are editable, so for example, if commercial work is not something that you get involved with, we can either remove that or we can add in other fields for other natures of work if you wanted to have those entered into the screen. This will again be covered in another video which will go over the settings of Construction Manager. So for example, if I use commercial, if I put contract value in there of 10,000, we can also enter day works and variations at this point, or we can enter them as a tender, which can be covered later on. We have description, which usually I would advise to be how the job is going to be referred to within the office or with people on site, or maybe even the address of where the works are taking place. So, for example, if I put refurbishment of offices as the description here. I've just tabbed onto the next screen, which takes us to the right hand side at the top here, where you have customer name, which is Cameron PLC, based upon the option that we selected from the customer reference field. Have a status of active, which we can change to complete and postings, which would be the job has finished, but we're still expecting some kind of documentation, either invoices, purchase orders, etc., to be raised against this job. Complete postings will lock the job so that no more postings can be raised against it, so no more invoices or purchase orders can be raised against the job. It does not lock the job indefinitely, so if you did need to ever revert the job type back to a state of active, so you can still post things against it, you can. It's obviously just there to try and eliminate human error in accidentally adding an invoice against a job which is closed. We also have a status of delete, so if you were using an automated job sequence and you didn't want to remove it completely, you can mark a status of the job as delete, so that you would still say that job number 1000, for example, was in delete even though the job hadn't got started. We also have practical completion and complete and paid, which will be similar to complete postings and complete no postings respectively. We also have not started, so if you did have a job which you were going to enter in a date which wasn't going to start for a number of weeks or months further down the line, you can mark it as not started and then change it to a state of active when you do start actually working on that job. We also have an order number field, so you can enter a blanket order number that you might have received for this job, which can then appear on all stationery that you print out. We also have to be completed by, so if you know that there is a deadline for this job to be completed by. We also have date complete, so you can mark down when the job has actually finished at the same time as when you change the status of the job to complete postings or complete no postings. That will also trigger any retention, or to mark that this job has got retention due against it if you are recording retention. Job analysis can be used for people's names, maybe for QSs, or in some instances people may use this for as a subheading. So if they wanted to, in reporting purposes, if they were using it to say that it was a commercial job, and in job analysis they wanted to say if it was an educational or if it was healthcare, they can do. Or we've got names in there as mentioned, you could use it for people's names. The project manager field is used again, these will be PAYE staff that you've entered into the labour module, and you can then mark those employees as the project manager. It is just either of those two fields really for more of an assistance for reporting. They are not required, it's just enter if it may be of an assistance to you. Special instructions is an endless text box underneath this, so you could use it to make notes as the job progresses. After you've done this, it would be advisable to click on save. That will have now saved the job as the fields have now greyed out. We can now start looking at the other subheaders or tabs across the top of the contracts page here. So subcontractors being the first one. Once subcontractors have been added onto this job, they will appear in the list. You can add them in at this point. It is often the case though that once a job's been created, you won't be aware of which subcontractor is going to be associated to this job until further down the line. So you can still add subcontractors in when you're actually raising a subcontractor application or a subcontractor purchase order against them at that point. It doesn't have to be that you have to come back into the contract screen and add a subcontractor in. It can be done at the point when you raise the documents as well. So it's either or process. Once they have been added, it will tell you, you'll get a list of all the subcontractors that have worked on this job and also the retention percentage that is applicable. We have a tender code tab, which are similar to cost codes, but it allows you to assign a budget against those cost codes. It will also allow you to have a cost budget alert, so if you're going to exceed your budget that you've set against that code, it will alert you on the system. This could be in a case of where you are posting invoices, purchase orders, timesheets, and you will obviously get the warning which will allow you to take the appropriate action rather than waiting to an end of month report to see that something has exceeded its budget. To do this, we can set up templates. So if I go to the bottom of the page and click on templates, we can set up numerous different template structures. So structure 1, for example, has got site preparation and then demolition underneath it and different codes. And then preliminaries again, similarly, site management, scaffolding, temporary roads, and we could apply this template and then add budgets against each area. Or we could have a lot more simple structure where you've got, for example, group 1 and then subgroup 1, and this has got labour, materials, plant and subcontractor in. Or if I click on new, again you've got two different folders underneath it, so this may need a little bit more assistance to be able to allow you to do what you want to do and set up your tender structures in the way that you want to, so you will report, and reports will print off in the way that you want them to. I'm just going to highlight structure 2 and click on apply template. As mentioned, you can click on new or edit to create new templates, but it may be worthwhile having some assistance in doing this to make sure that you set up the structure correctly. Clicking on apply template, it will ask me if I want to enter a prefix. This can be useful if you're doing a job in phases, or if you are a house builder and you are building different plots and you want to be able to split the cost down by individual plot rather than against the job as a whole. I'm going to just click on OK and not enter anything into this field, so it will just apply the template. If I close that now, you can see we've got these two folders from that group added in. So within that subgroup 1, I'm going to say, for example, I'm going to be sending £5,000 on labour and £5,000 on materials. I'm then going to tick these two boxes, and I'll leave these two blank because I'm not expecting to spend any money on plant or subcontractor on this project, for example. I could still tick these two boxes, so if, for example, somebody did use those cost codes in error, it would give them the warning message that they were going to exceed the budget. The next tab that I'm going to go look at is defaults. So this is where you'll be able to set the retention against this job of either standard of 5 and 2.5% and the retention released after 12 months, or it could be 3 and 1.5, or whichever figures that you find appropriate for the job that you're raising. We have a site addresses tab. So from here we can set up the site if it's more than one site address. So if we're going to click on new address, it will give me at the top here the name. So if I can call this address, for example, 111 Lorette, and get street name. The name is how it will display in the list of addresses that you've got here. So if it's a site office or something like that instead, obviously you can call it by whatever the site office address is instead. And if I put the town in, you can also record telephone numbers, fax numbers, and emails, person's contact on site. Or if we can leave that as it is for the time being, and if I just click on save, that's now added this site address against this job. Being it's got job 999 in here, it means that job is unique to this job. As you can see, 156 Bristol Road is also on here. The fact that the job number is left blank means that it can be applied to any job that we enter onto the system. So you can either lock it so that this site address is unique to the job that you are working on, or if you leave it blank, it means that site can be selected against any other job that you raise on the Construction Manager software. We have the default address here. So for example, if I from the drop down say that 111 London Road is going to be the default address, and that is where we are going to the main site where things are going to be delivered to. That will also appear on stationery such as purchase orders and invoices if we want them to. The next tab is a notes tab. Here we can enter in information against that job. So for example, if I wanted to have a running commentary, or if more than one person was accessing the contract and wanted to see what was going on with it, I can enter in, for example, site notes here as a note and click on add. That will then have the note, who it is that's created it, for people that have logged in, and the date and time that it was logged. We can obviously delete these notes out, and we can control access to this, so not everybody will be able to log them. We've got another tab for maintenance options, which I'm going to skip. If you're using maintenance, this will be something we'll discuss in more detail at that point, but it's not something that's used by all customers. And the final one we've got is attached files. This will allow us to, if you've got any drawings or agreements, orders that you may want to attach. If I click on add, I can then choose what I want to, which folder or which document I want to attach. This will add it into the location within the settings area, which we use when the software was installed. If I now close the information I've got here, it will prompt me if I have not saved everything to say, do you want to save those changes? If I say yes, as you can see now it has greyed out the two boxes in the bottom left. If I click on close, as you can see the list of all the different jobs that we've got, and at the bottom is the job 999 refurbished offices. I hope that provides helpful. Please, if you've got any questions, do let us know.